Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. This is Success with Srini.
Today's podcast episode is a motivation I derived from a long conversation that happened at my friend's place over this weekend. So a party happening at my friend's place, bunch of people there, and I overheard them talking about the economy, about the stock market, the real estate, and how things are going down, and their careers now taking a hit, and how they are lacking motivation to go to work now that the offices have opened up, and all of that. And eventually, I get dragged in. I get pulled into this conversation. I said, yeah, true, all of these things are true. Maybe there is truth to this. But then I said, the only way to really fight this internally is to have a perspective. Who you are, what you're doing, what is the end objective, and how to go about it. There has to be a proper perspective. If not, every step from here on is going to become difficult because you're starting to accept the problem without really understanding what's happening. You're listening to the media, you're listening to everything, and obviously there is a lot that's going on. And you're starting to paint yourself as a victim to all this. Hence, you'll have suffering. And the only way for you to get out of this is by building a perspective. Now, here on this podcast, ever since this podcast has become a daily podcast, I have been saying that no matter what you do, whatever your pursuit is, maybe you want to have a better job, maybe you want to buy a house, maybe you want to become a better investor, whatever your goals are, if you do not attach meaning to the activities that you are engaged in right now, then the process becomes harder. And today on the podcast, I want to drive this point that a perspective is important and how to build a perspective. See, meaning is different, perspective is different. I went through this myself many years ago, where I was reading a lot of books and I was trying to figure out life, and it was not happening. So these people at this party, they did ask me about going to seminars, workshops, reading books, asking me for some recommendations on which book they should read and all that. And I said none of those things will make sense because they did not make sense to me when I was going through this. Reading is an activity. Yes, it does expand the mind. It does do good things. But then why read books when you are not implementing? Why read books when you are not taking action? Doesn't add up. So years ago, when I was going through this, there are a few things I did that instill a rock solid perspective into me, that which carries me forward. And I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but because it worked with me, for me, and it continues to work, I think there is some truth to this. So I want you to listen to this. If it makes sense to you, take it. If not, don't worry about it. Just reject it. So I was reading these books and somehow I was not able to put all these things together. There are two perspectives I developed and I want to give those two here. The first thing I did is I looked at myself. I said, I'm a human and I'm trying to figure out life. I'm trying to somehow piece it all together. It's not working. So instead of saying I'm a human and I'm trying to figure out life, why not I tell myself I am life and I will figure out what humans are. You see, these two words, by shifting them around, my whole world opened up. And ever since, human problems did affect me, but it never crippled me. They never took the brain space or heart space, they say, never at a level that the way they did in the past. Some people say, oh, I was young then, I have grown up now, so I can deal with problems better. Not true. Not true. If you develop a perspective early on, then it doesn't matter how young you are, you should be able to deal with things better. So moving around saying that I'm life and I'll figure out humans or humanness was much easier approach as compared to I'm human, I want to figure out life. So try this perspective. Let me know how it works for you. And you don't need to do it for a long time. Just try it out for about maybe 10 days or 15 days and let me know. The second perspective is that which is inside is bigger and better than that which is outside. And there are numerous quotes on this. There are numerous books written on this concept. But then this perspective shift completely changed in my life. I'll tell you how I arrived on this. Let's talk about the outside part for a second. The outside part is this. The average human size, when we look at humans, is about 1.7576 meters. That's how tall we are, from outside. And you take that height and you compare that to an ant. We are 750 times taller than an ant. Very simple. That gives you a scale, that gives you a range. And let's take our 1.75 meters. We take that and look at the world, the Earth. Earth is 3.5 million times larger than us, the human, an average human. Interesting. I read that many, many years ago. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty close though. 3.5 million times larger than an average human. The outer side. Now let's talk about the universe for a second, because one of the things every time I do as an exercise, I talked about this here also numerous times on the podcast, is when you start thinking about the cosmos, the universe, the multiverse, and everything that exists above, over us, it's big, it's huge. And it tells us that we are nothing. So our time here is 100 years. It may sound it's a lot, but a majority of those years, 50, 30, 40, 50 years, most people spend those years without knowing what they're doing. And by the time you really figure out who you are, you have very limited time left, usually depleted energy levels, and no focus, no drive to do anything meaningful. Maybe a small window exists. Very rarely you meet people who come up and say, and I'm 70 years old, I figured out who I am, going to spend next 30 years trying to build this incredible company or do this incredible charity, all that. Most people don't. Very rarely people start something at that age and really become successful, exception being the KFC, Colonel Sanders, and all that. So there are some exceptions, but mostly not. The data doesn't show that. So 100 years of life. Now take that and look at the universe. 13.8 billion years old, our universe. The visible universe is 46 billion light years. Okay? That's how far it takes. That's how far we have seen so far. Okay? 46 billion light years. So if you put yourself in the center, and which consider yourself the center of the universe, and around you, you can see 46 billion light years. Beyond that, we haven't yet gone, but now James Webb telescope in place, maybe we'll see even, we can reach even further out, but you get the idea. 46 billion light years, 13.8 billion years, our universe, that's how old this is, still expanding. We are the outer world. We look into the outer world, we are insignificant. Okay, totally insignificant. Now, talking about light years, how far a light year is, very simply speaking, 9 trillion miles. 9 trillion kilometers. 6 trillion miles. That's how much distance light covers in 1 year. And I think about it, and I thought about it this 15 years ago. I felt so irrelevant, and even today as I'm recording this podcast, I feel so insignificant. Today, it's just our life. And here we are fighting with everyone on everything and trying to make sense of all this. Let's talk about inside for a second. What is inside of us? Inside of us is 23 chromosomes from the mom, 23 chromosomes from the dad, depending whether you got that in an XX format or XY format, whatever that is. And the XY chromosome combinations creates roughly 8.3 million different combinations your chromosomes could have. And out of all that, you, in this shape, in this form, are unique. A few seconds later, had it been a nanosecond delayed, okay, you could be somebody else completely. But you are who you are, I am who I am, in that combination, in that moment right there. In that moment. Had it been delayed by a few seconds, 1/10 of a second, you'd be different. And within us, and there are 7 billion of us, all of us, roughly, walking, moving around. And each one of us, at any point in time, in a given day, we are processing about 10,000 thoughts. Now, take that into count, 10,000 thoughts a day, roughly, or 4,000, whoever you follow, whichever book you read, they all are different, but you get the idea. Human brain is producing that many thoughts, processing that many thoughts. So, the scale within us, see, and one thought will change this world. Has multiple times, over many, many years, we'll go back and look at the history, a thought changed the world. And I'll tell you, there is some kid born right now, somewhere, who is about to change the world. So many outside things compared to which we are insignificant. So many inside of us compared to which we are significant. The significance here is that we could have been somebody else, but we are here. And the significance being that, we have the knowledge, the know-how, this life, this awareness, this presence, and all of that is unique to us, and we should be doing things that taking this as a gift. Instead, we are caught up talking about politics, religion. We are caught up talking about economy, taxes. We're caught up talking about how life has been just wrong to us. Doesn't add up. It doesn't add up in any which way. This is what I told them in the room. I said, it doesn't add up. You are just wasting away your time. If you want to release these feelings, then go change your thoughts. Because there's no which way to alter feelings unless you change your thinking. And good thoughts only come in when you start putting in some good information into you. So your information input is incorrect. Go read. Read people, read books. I talk about that all the time here on the podcast. Maybe your thoughts will change because you're reading. And because of that, your feelings could change. And read to build a perspective. Don't read because you want to say, oh, I read one book in this week. I read one book every week. I used to do that. But that was the small me back in the day. I used to tell people I read one book a week. It doesn't make any sense. Now, when I look back, it's so silly to say I read one book a week. It's not about reading. I wish I could read one book today, a week, right? Now, given the perspective I have, it'll make sense, but I don't. Now I'm limited by other things. I lack other things. So I try to read one book a month now, maybe in 2 months or 3 months. Sometimes I miss my schedule and all that. But you get the point now. You get where I'm going with this. So you think you lack potential, you lack skill, you lack time, you lack resources. Not true. You have what it takes. And all this is a gift, all this is a blessing. But we, due to lack of perspective, we run the risk of squandering everything away. And these two things that, I'm life trying to figure out humans, and what is inside of me is bigger than what is there outside, even though the outside is much bigger. I stand insignificant in front of the outside, but I stand significant what I have inside. Completely shifted my perspective. I hope these are the two things I was telling them. These are the two things I'm sharing with you on the podcast. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this gives you an idea. This gives you, raises your understanding, gives you the scale, hopefully. If it does, it helps you shift your mind, let me know. That's all for now. I've gone too far today. Wherever you are, maybe it's Tuesday for you, maybe it's already Wednesday for you. Wherever you are, be safe and keep listening, keep supporting, keep commenting. That way I know that I'm doing something here which is meaningful, and so that I preserve my perspective here. That's all for now. I'll catch up with you as early as tomorrow. Stay tuned. Bye now.